Good evening and welcome to the Monday, May 4th, 2026 meeting of the City Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Scott Loikitz. I'm the Zoning Board Chair. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of the special meeting has been provided to a newspaper record. It's been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision. And decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed on the city's YouTube page, and it's also being broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast 34 and Verizon Channel 30. Transcript of this meeting is also being taken using video and audio, so we need all speakers to utilize one of the microphones throughout the room. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and in the back of the room where you enter. The city also has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter. Ms. Sands, can you please call the roll of members?
Vice Chair Zahn is excused. Mr. Yuko?
Here.
Mr. Millet?
Here.
Mr. Mullen is excused. Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Curran is expected but not yet present. Ms. Chifo?
Here.
Mr. Feskins?
Here.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Here.
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Chairman Loikitz?
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Sands. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. Mr. Ball advises the board members on matters of law and is a key interface with the applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on these applications. Jessica Sands is a city employee and is the zoning board secretary. Board secretary works with the applicants on preparing their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Board secretary also does not vote on these applications. Also present tonight are experts who are hired annually by the board to provide input. Tonight we have Marie Raffe from Colliers Engineering, and instead of Ed Snikes, we have
David Novak with Burgess Associates.
welcome, David. Thank you. He'll act as our board planner tonight. These experts seated at the table to the right of the board, the public's left. They also do not vote. Our board consists up to 7 regular members and 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but only a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Before we enter into executive session to vote, you will be advised on how many votes are required for approval. Each case will begin with the applicants or their attorney giving an overview of the application process to date and the variances that are required. We then hear from any additional expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why these variances are needed. The board experts, then followed by the board members, may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Due to recent cases running excessively long, we strongly encourage applicants and their experts to give brief and concise testimony so we may get to as many cases as possible in a given evening, especially tonight since we have 4 on the docket. Once the board members and the board professionals have completed the questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about the case. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Please be careful as how you phrase your questions. They should not be preceded with a statement about the case, but should be a direct question to the witness. Also, before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide us your address. It's important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. After all witnesses have been heard, members of the public have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into executive session. This is where board members discuss the case and then we vote. You'll be able to listen into our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in our discussion. Now going to ask each applicant and or their attorney, if present, to come up and give a very brief synopsis of their anticipated testimony tonight, including how many witnesses they have and whether or not they can finish within 30 minutes. So tonight, we're going to start with 19 Ridge Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. James Weber of Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicants. We have 3 witnesses. I'm anticipating it will take an hour.
Okay. Thank you so much. Can we have a representative from 35 Badeau, please?
Good evening. Stephen Joseph for the applicant. We have 3 witnesses, but one of them we'll keep in reserve. We anticipate 30 minutes for the 2 witnesses that we plan on presenting.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next, 36 Dale Drive.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Stephen Azzolini, representing the applicant. Tonight I have 3 witnesses, half an hour, I believe, at most. It's a straightforward application.
All right, excellent. Finally, someone from 2 Beekman.
Hi, good
Hi.
evening. I'm Meghna. I'm one of the co-owners of 2 Beekman Road. The application will probably take a half hour.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. 19 Ridge Road, let's get started.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. James Weber of Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicants. This application was previously before the board in February, where we made a brief introduction through Mr. Rosen's testimony as to the overall application that was being presented. We had interested neighbors who had retained counsel in questioning, if not opposition, to this application. As a result, there's been the opportunity, and we thank the board for the opportunity to have those discussions with the neighbor. At that point, we now have arrived at a plan through counsel for the neighbor, Aileen Brennan, that they do not oppose this proposed development. One of the aspects that was previously presented was an attempt to reconfigure the greenhouse and the pool. That really had an idea that in concept made sense, but in practicality did not. So we had Jared Kest, who's revised the hardscaping and provided the landscaping, which has satisfied the neighbors. With regard to the variances, Mr. Rosen will walk through those so we can accelerate this presentation. There is no variance for the retaining walls. Mr. Clark is going to eliminate that variance, and that eliminates the request for the interpretation as well. Unless the board has any questions of me, I'll call Mr. Rosen to the stand to give testimony in this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. That sounds good.
And I'll just note, Mr. Rosen was previously sworn at the last hearing. His credentials were accepted at that time, so you remain under oath.
Okay, thank you. We discussed some of the variances last time, and since then, we've made some revisions to the plans, particularly with lot coverage and the lot coverage, and some of the other variances will be covered in greater depth by Jared Kest, the landscape architect, and Andrew Clark, the engineer, civil engineer. So last time, I went over a few of the items, and I'm just going to summarize them. This is a view of the front of the house on the, sorry, let me just get that off. That shows the existing house on the top and the proposed on the bottom. As you can see, there's no change in the height of the building. Most of the building has remained as it currently is, with an addition on the bottom left in this drawing. The rest of going around to the back, you can see the addition back here, which is essentially one story, a continuation of the first floor. There is no addition on the second floor or in the attic. And I'm sorry, there's a small addition on the second floor just over here as a dormer. And then then it goes down to the basement in the lower left where we have a garage. And these are relevant because the first 2 variances that we'll talk about were covered last time, and that is maximum building height And as noted in the reports, the allowable is 43 feet, the existing is 41.3, and the proposed is 45. And this one, as we talked about last time, is simply because the ground is a little bit lower at the back of the house, and that's where the addition is going to be. There is no change to the height of the house from the front or from Fernwood Road, so the streetscape, the perception of the height of the house is unchanged. But because the property slopes down to the back, when we do our, the maximum height from the very lowest to the very highest is 45 feet. So that's a C variance. The next one is the average, where a point is taken 10 feet around, every 10 feet around the perimeter. The allowable is 38. Currently, it's 39 feet, and that goes to 41. And the reasons for it are identical to the maximum height. The building doesn't get taller, the ground gets a little bit lower. The next one that we discussed a little bit last time was the maximum accessory building height, which has to do with the cabana and greenhouse. We'll go with the greenhouse, which has a limit of 15 feet, and we have proposed 17.5. And you can see it in the lower corner over here, lower right on the proposed at the rear. The issue here is that we're trying to get the roof pitch to be very similar or to match the existing, so we have that roof a little bit taller. So those are the height variances, all due to the slope of the property. Then we have the position of the accessory buildings in the front yard, and that'll be talked about a little bit more by Jarrett and Andrew. Because of the way the property is and where the house is positioned on the property, we put you'll see on the board that's all the way to the side here in front of the TVs, that we put the driveway so that it would come around to the right. The garage doors face away from both streets, as the ordinance requires, and so the pool and the greenhouse are sort of to the upper left in this drawing. The pool is in blue, and the greenhouse is the little rectangle below it. So the requirement for the principal building in the R43 zone is 50 feet, and for an accessory structure on a corner lot, it's double that. So it's 100 feet is the requirement. If it was part of the, if it was the main house, which is 57.5 feet, sorry, 0.7 feet from the, from Fernwood Road, the accessory buildings are very similar. They're essentially the same, 57.6 for the greenhouse and 60 feet for the pool. So they are closer to the street, to Fernwood Road, than an accessory building could be, although they're in the area. If it was part of the principal structure, they would be conforming. Next, we go to lot coverage. The lot coverage, let me just see. This just shows the garage doors around the back. And Mr. Millay had asked a question toward the end of the last hearing about whether that would block sunlight. We did a study to see where the sun is. It turns out that the front of the house faces directly south, so as the sun goes over, the sun is almost perfectly vertical, varying between summer and winter, but the shadow never leaves the property. So thank you for that question last time, and that covers it. So there's no shadow that extends over to the neighbor. Okay, a couple of other ones. Coverage. The maximum lot coverage permitted is 30%. Last time we were 37.9. In the interval between the last meeting and this one, we went at this around and around and kept finding ways to cut the lot coverage, so that in the documents that were submitted, it says 30.8. We've been able to further reduce it to 30.4. So we went from nearly 38%, almost all the way back to the allowable 30%, but we're actually at 30.4. And Andrew Clark will cover that in a little bit more detail. Maximum building coverage is permitted to be 12%, and the existing is 9.4%. With the addition, we're at 13.9, so it's a 1.9%, 1.9% variance, and that has to do with the addition that goes off, you can see, going off to the right. We did remove some other aspects of the house that would cause, that count in building coverage, so we've removed and we've added, and the net increase, let me just go back to this, because of the addition on the lower left there, is we're at 13.9.
And previously, what was the number that was presented to the board in the original application?
37.9.
I'm talking about for the building.
Oh, building coverage. That was 14.4. Yes.
So that's been reduced by 0.5?
Yeah, by 0.5%, yes. And if anybody has any questions or any comments, just call out. I don't mind being interrupted. I'm nearly done anyway.
Well, then let me,
Yes,
before I forget, so
Yes.
what did you say about the building coverage? It's actually going to be what now?
13.9.
13 point, so the planner's report says 14.4, you're reducing that to 13.
We reduced that further because once we had proper statistics for everything, we went at it one or two more times in order to see where we could further reduce. And that reduction happened when you go out a doorway. We had a larger platform there. We cut some of the platforms back so that if it's more than 1 foot above the ground level, then it counts. We reduced some of those.
And does that make the same change in the lot coverage? When you said the lot coverage went down to, or is that a different change?
No, those were some different changes. That'll be described by Jarrett and Andrew. Okay, but these two are a little different than what we had submitted in the revision, so the drawing's in front of you.
One more,
Yes.
just point for clarification. I believe in our planner's report, we have a max height of 41, but you indicated it's 45 feet is the proposed variance for that?
There are two statistics there.
Okay.
Both are correct. 45 feet is for the maximum, which is the very lowest point, which is at the garage, the bottom of the garage doors, up to the top of the ridge. That's 45 feet. It's allowed to be 43. And the other one, the 41 feet that's mentioned in that report, is for the average building height, going around the whole perimeter of the house, allowed to be 38, and it's 41.
Got it.
So, thank you. Those are
Thank you.
both correct numbers, but for slightly different statistics. Okay, so building coverage 13.9, down from the 14.4 that we had previously thought. And then,
Ken, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Mr. Rosen. The items that are necessarily attributable to the architecture of the property
Right.
include the roof eaves.
yeah, the roof eaves in Summit, roof eaves, so the extension of the roof beyond the perimeter of the building, the roof is allowed to overhang by 2 feet. And if it does, none of it counts. 2 feet and less, none of it counts. When it goes over 2 feet, the entire overhang counts. And in this case, we have overhangs of, I'll round off, but 4 feet. So there's a lot more coverage that occurs, and it's counted as building coverage, even though it's just the extension of the roof. Those statistics will be covered by Andrew Clark, just to make sure that we know where the additional coverage is. And the other thing that I just wanted to mention is the front porch, which also extends the front porch. It has a big roof that hangs out, but we're extending it a little bit more, adding columns, putting solar panels on the top that'll be hidden, but that also contributes to the building coverage. So those elements you would not perceive as mass of the building, but they're within the statistic.
And I'm going to ask a question. that may have come up, why not cut the roof eaves back? Why not bring
Well, it's the
it-
character of this house. We're trying to do three things on this property. One is restore, and that means a lot of the components of the house is about 120 years old. Things like we have already replaced the slate roof. The siding on the front has been replaced. It was in need of considerable attention for paint and so on. The overhangs are part of the character of this house, and we didn't want to remove part of that character. So we're restoring, we're renovating all of the utilities of the plumbing system, electrical, HVAC, all of that is being, it has already been replaced within the existing house, and obviously the new part will be all new as well. Anyway, so there are a whole lot of things. We replaced the windows, but they're the same size or perfectly compatible with some of the existing windows. Anyway, so on building coverage, there are these other elements that go into that statistic. Andrew will summarize those. So you'll see that for the mass of the building, the existing and the proposed, the perceivable number is lower than what we're presenting here because of the overhangs and the front porch. There's also steep slope disturbance as a variance. Obviously, this piece of property, the way to add on to it while retaining the original character is to add to the back and away from the intersection so that the streetscape remains much more comparable to what it is now. Andrew Clark will address the amount of area that is affected by steep slope and the size of that variance. The last two are, Jim just mentioned the retaining wall height in the front yard. On the drawings that you have, there's a very small area, 1 foot deep. 1 foot, if the wall was moved 1 foot back, we eliminate that variance. And so I assume that that's the way that it's going to be resolved.
That will comply, and if the board were to approve the application for development, the retaining walls that were within or over the 4 feet will be brought into compliance.
Right. And the last one is we had a variance for the width of the driveway originally at 18 feet. That was for the parking area out near the front door. That's been eliminated. The driveway is conforming. The allowable in the front yard is 12 feet, and this driveway will be 11 feet. So that was also one of the ways we reduce lot coverage. And these are all, they're all connected, but most of this, so the building height, those two calculations that you just mentioned are due to the slope of the property. The accessory building in the front yard, to some extent, is also due.
If I can, it's not the front yard, it's that they establish a setback that's double.
I'm sorry.
The front yard.
Yes. Okay. Those are, for the pool and the greenhouse, those are there because with the slope, we didn't want to disturb more of the property, and we wanted to put them in a position that makes sense for the renovations and so on this property. So, and for the building coverage, we wanted to maintain the original building. If it was a new piece of property, if it was a new house on this piece of property, it would be configured a little differently. It might not have as big of a space on the first floor that causes the building coverage. Anyway, I'll take any questions, and then we can move on to Jared Kest.
Okay. Board experts, what questions do you have for the
So
city?
has this been submitted to the board? Are these revisions since the last plan, the last meeting that we had?
Yes, these were submitted to the board.
Okay.
What you'll see is that in terms of the plan submitted to the board, for example, the lot coverage in that initial came in at 30.8. Mr. Clark has looked at his plans again, studied them, and he's able to bring the number down to 30.4. But that 0.4 difference is not going to be really recognizable. So the plans will be substantially the same as presented to the board, just that there's been this constant refinement, if you will.
Okay, so nothing, no numbers or anything were changed on this?
Not on the architectural
Right.
drawings, and Andrew Clark will address it. But that last reduction happened very recently. The main reduction from 37.9 to 30.8 happened a while ago and is shown on the drawings. But since the submittal of those drawings, as Jim just said, we've reduced the lot coverage by an additional 0.4%. And the building coverage was reduced by 0.5% when Andrew went through all of the calculations and made sure that everything was counted.
Thank you.
But just to be clear, so those small 0.4%, 0.5% changes, so those are not on the plans we have, physical paper?
Correct.
Okay, so those do need to be reviewed at some point if assuming
Yes,
we approve. Okay.
but for the variance, we would commit to those numbers.
Okay.
Mr. Novak, you have questions for this witness?
Just a few questions. Thank you
Yes.
very much. And I apologize if these were asked at the last meeting. Was there any discussion regarding the interior of the cabana? What's going to be inside that building?
I don't recall whether there was much discussion about it, but it's in two parts. One is a cabana, which is simply sort of a small bathroom for changing or going to the bathroom, and it's near the pool area. The second part of the building, which takes up about 2/3 of the building, that little building, is a greenhouse. And the
Okay.
greenhouse is for the usual greenhouse kinds of things, and it's adjacent to gardens that are on the property.
Okay, so I know it sounds like a silly question, but no cooking facilities in that cabana?
Correct.
Okay, the reason I ask is because the city does not allow accessory buildings to be converted into a dwelling unit, so we just wanted to cover that. This may be a question for another witness, but you had mentioned the size of the eaves that were
Yes.
increasing lot coverage and building coverage. If those were brought into, if those were reduced to 2 feet in length,
Yes.
would that bring lot coverage and building coverage into conformance?
No, but Andrew Clark will address those.
Okay.
We have all of those statistics, but I'll leave it for him tied in with some of the other changes that have happened.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Behrens, in his April 22nd, 2026 memo, had inquired regarding the city's development design guidelines contained in Chapter 35 and whether or not the proposed building materials and colors address consistency. Were you able to review those standards?
The building, all of the materials are consistent with the original building.
Okay.
Brick on the first floor, cedar shingle siding on the second floor, and the little bits on the third floor. The roof is a slate roof, consistent with what it was. The windows have been replaced. They are the same size and the same pattern of the panes and so on as what already exists on the building.
Okay, that's all I have for now, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. Board, what questions do you have for Mr. Rosen?
I just have one. The roof overhang, the part that's going, you said 4 feet, that's new roof? You said you were trying to match it to the original building. What's the overhang?
No,
on
only
it?
the existing.
The existing, so it is
Has
already
that
4 feet.
long extension.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the central part of the front and back, that has it. Let me just go to,
So it's
so-
not like you can reduce it because it's the existing house that has the overhang?
the existing house has the
4 foot
the big
overhang.
overhang, yes.
Okay, so to match that, you're saying is, you had to keep.
We decided not to match that. We have it sort of compatible, but we don't have, we left it just in the main part of the building. So up across here, I don't know if you can see that, but at the main eave has the big overhang. Let me just,
So it's not like you could reduce it. It's existing. That's I just
well,
want-
anything is possible, but it would be kind of taking a big chunk of the
Yeah,
original
okay, no,
house
that's-
off.
That's why I just wanted some clarification on that.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So in fact, we are looking at 5 variances only?
There are maximum building height, average building height, accessory building height, and then the accessory building to the front yard, but that's sort of in two parts, pool and the greenhouse. Then we have maximum lot coverage, building coverage, and steep slope. So I think that we're at 7.
I counted 8.
Okay, with the accessory on the two structures, yes. And a couple have been eliminated. I don't know if, Jim, I should present positive and negative criteria for the architectural portion now, or should we wait on that?
Let's get our witnesses through, and
Okay.
at that point, if the board has any questions and they need some confirmation as to affirmative and negative criteria, then perhaps a synopsis of that at the end.
Mr. Weber, that sounds excellent.
So now or later?
Later.
All right. Okay.
All right, any questions from the public for this witness? Seeing none. All right, Mr. Weber, who do you have next?
Mr. Kest,
Awesome, thank you.
I would ask that Jared Kest be called to the stand to be sworn in to give testimony in this matter.
Got it. Just a sec.
This chair's a little loose down below, so be careful. No, here. Perhaps while we're waiting for the computer to tie in, you can go through your qualifications.
All right. If you could raise your right hand whenever you're ready. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Jarrett Kest, K-E-S-T.
Thank you, and you've appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
No.
I imagine we'll accept you back once again.
Absolutely. Welcome back, Mr. Kess. Please proceed.
Thank you. Okay. So I get the fun part.
Now, has this been presented previously to the board or through Jessica Sands to the board?
This has not been presented.
Okay, so this is illustrative of the landscaping plans that have been presented to the board. This is really an illustration and perceptive approach for that, but this does require being introduced as an additional exhibit.
And we're up to A3 at this point.
Thank you.
Great. Like I said, I'm the landscape architect here. It's been my pleasure. It's pretty rare to meet a clients like Ravi and Goda Dattatreya, in that their passion for landscaping, use of native plants, and all things environmental sustainability exceed even mine. So with that knowledge going into this project, trying to design, a full program for a full family, right? We're looking at grandchildren, children, grandparents utilizing this space, for generations is the hope. So how do we incorporate a full program that a whole entire family can use and enjoy, but also be as environmentally sensitive as possible? So we did our best. So I'm about to show you how. So here is the landscape master plan, and this is inclusive of all the improvements that David Rosen just described. You'll see the existing residence as the main rectangle, and then the two additions off to the north and to the west. Starting at the top of the screen, we have a preserved and enhanced landscape. So we are preserving two large mature trees there. Like I said, specifically Goda Dattatreya, and we just had this conversation again in the hallway, is very concerned about keeping as much plant material on the property as possible, and also utilizing native plants of all sizes and shapes and colors to replace the ones that we may be taking out. So you'll see along the northern edge of the property, we are preserving, enhancing that landscape. So keeping all the trees that we possibly can for a strong canopy, but also coming in, cleaning out invasives, doing a lot of pruning. You know, there's a lot of overgrown material in that area, and then bringing in, and we'll go through the palette of plants, but a nice full palette of native plants in that area. And then along the northern border, and the west and east for that matter, we are coming in with a really full opaque landscape screen. So mature at the time of planting. Almost all of that is native. The only non-native is the Norway spruce, but the rest we'll go through in a minute, but they're all native as well. And then you'll see the pool located central, adjacent to the dining patio. And then kind of the star of the show, and Goda's kind of baby here, is the greenhouse and the gardens. And you'll see proportionally, the greenhouse and the gardens is much larger than any single program element on the property, and that's intentional, obviously. I think the intent is to grow vegetables and use those vegetables at the house, but also to grow flowers, cutting gardens, and so on. And it was important to Goda to have all of the property accessible so that she can prune all of this material herself, which is quite the size property to do that, but it's all yours. So, and then if we move to the south of the property, we are showing a U-shaped driveway. There's currently a U-shaped driveway. This one is dramatically smaller than the existing. The existing driveway extends almost all the way to the neighbor to the east, only maybe 4 or 5 feet from that neighbor. And then all the way to the west, the current driveway opens where you see that little curb cut by the intersection. So this design is a much safer design, but also provides a lot more privacy to the east there. And then to conclude in the front, we have the streetscape garden. So we're using lots of native plants, if not all native plants. But we also want to maintain consistency with the street. So there's a healthy balance between kind of a nice row of trees to frame the house and frame the drives. But once you get inside the property, we have these native meadow landscapes. So this will have a more wild look to it within kind of tailored frames. And this will attract butterflies, hummingbirds, and so on. So why are we here? Dave did a good job talking about the buildings. I'm not going to attempt to do that. But let's talk about the pool and the greenhouse and why we're asking for variance relief there. As Dave stated earlier, the 2 times the 50-foot front yard setback, 100 feet, is quite restrictive, you know, on a corner lot like this, especially one that has steep slopes. So I've prepared this exhibit that kind of highlights, you know, the only area on the entire property where this pool and greenhouse could potentially go, right? So this is at the bottom of the slope. This is about 25 feet lower than the finished floor elevation of the house, and really not big enough or the right shape to have a pool or a greenhouse, right? It's also on the north side of the property, which is probably the most undesirable part under a tree canopy. So we're talking about a heavily shaded, weirdly shaped, undersized swimming pool and a greenhouse that would never get sunlight in that location. So we just can't do that.
And that would also be right next to the downhill neighbor who had retained counsel and had been very interested in this application.
Well, and that's really paramount here, right? So the neighbor's issue was, you know, the sound of the pool and entertaining and the proximity. So we've done everything possible to reduce the size of the pool and bring it closer to the house. Obviously, if we located it at the bottom of the property, we'd only be 15 feet from the house, whereas now we are, from the property line, excuse me. And now we are, in the next exhibit, the pool is 48 feet. So going back one slide here, as you can see, a really undesirable, we're talking about 50 stairs from the first floor elevation down to what would be the only buildable envelope for a pool and a greenhouse at the bottom of the property. Really not an option.
And pools are allowed to be 15 feet from a property line, correct?
In this zone, yes. And you'll also see in this exhibit the 100-foot line from Fernwood, right? That's also highly restrictive here as well.
Is that the dash line that's running from north to the south?
That's correct, yep. A second exhibit, just showing, how far from the property line on the north, both the greenhouse and the pool are. We have the greenhouse at 71.34 feet from the north property line, and the pool 48 feet, both which could be as close as 15 feet. We also are locating the pool mechanical equipment underneath the cabana portion of the greenhouse cabana structure. So there's no visual or auditory impact of that equipment whatsoever. The other major benefit of this proposal is that instead of being 25 feet below the finished floor elevation requiring 50 steps, we're only 6.4 feet, right? So people looking after grandchildren and children, it just becomes a much more manageable space. It's also located in the sun, which I wrote here equals fun, and lower maintenance. And then just kind of touching on the environmental aspects of the project that Dave Rosen and his team worked on. This project is really a model example of, really all the things that we have control over that we can do. There's solar, there's geothermal, there's native plants being used, the types of insulation and natural materials, the HVAC system and so on are all designed for maximum efficiency, all kind of making a bundle of really a very sustainable project. And stormwater, which Andrew Clark's going to get into in granular detail, is probably the biggest place where we're making an impact on this project. As you are aware, the previous proposal had about 3,600 square feet over on lot coverage. We're currently only around 200 square feet over on lot coverage, which is just an incredible reduction. But why that matters here is that we did not reduce our stormwater management as a consequence of that. So we were already capturing all the stormwater landing on the property, counting 3,600 over on coverage, and we still are capturing that volume, plus the addition of a cistern in the front yard, and the native plants also having a higher absorption rate than non-native plants, really leads to a site that is definitely capturing all stormwater, where currently there's no stormwater system on the property, right? The house sits at the top of the hill, and anything that hits this house runs down the hill. So this is a dramatic improvement. So moving on into the plantscape here, obviously we're taking out a few trees. One of them is a large mature ginkgo, and we also have a large beech tree in the front yard. The beech tree has beech leaf disease, which, there has been some success in treating those trees, but I would say some is less than 50%, right? And from the looks of that tree in the front, I would say you're probably leaning towards less than 50% on that tree. But the ginkgo is healthy, but unfortunately there's just no design solution that would allow us to keep it. So what we did, and this is now, I guess, 1.5 years ago, we had an arborist come to the property, and we took cuttings from the tree at the right time with their buds, and he's been growing them in a greenhouse ever since. So we have 10 ginkgo trees from the one. Now, obviously, this is a 30-something inch ginkgo tree, and these are sapling ginkgo trees. But it's important to the Ditatrias that we are able to replant that genetic same tree back on the property. So I don't think we'll get 10, right? We are growing 10, but maybe we'll yield 3 or 4. But the intent is that there will be the same genetic ginkgo tree back on the property. And just a simple diagram showing the 2 mature oaks and the understory that's going to be kept on the north side of the property. We're going to remove the invasives and dying material. And then we're also removing a gravel driveway, number 3 there on the north side, and the garage/carriage house. So what is really characterized by kind of a under-maintained, invasive understory an old building and a gravel road becomes this really magical kind of planted meadow on the north side of the property. And just a selection of the native plants. Here's the native trees. We have elms, dogwood, and swamp white oak. For screening, we have American holly, arborvitae, and Nellie Stevens holly. With native shrubs, we have the winterberry holly, sweet pepper bush, red osier dogwood, common nidebark, mountain laurel. And then as pollinators, we have butterfly weed, showy goldenrod, and Joe Pye weed. And cutleaf coneflower, eastern blue star, and blazing star. And then we're also introducing in the front specifically this kind of native grass scape, so it will have like a meadow look to it, little blue stem, switchgrass, and Indian grass. So with that, to conclude my portion of the testimony, I feel that we have done our best to make the most sustainable project possible, by balancing, what is the aesthetic of the neighborhood, but also how do we improve how this property functions from how does it capture stormwater, and what are the plant communities that you'll find on this property. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kess. Board experts, what questions do you have for this witness?
I don't know if this is a question for you or not, but the very rear of the property, where there's steep slopes, it looks like there's going to be some grading of like lawn paths or something. Could you talk about how that's going to be on a steep slope?
Yeah, it's basically not really grading, it's just clear, right? So the intent is to not grade that area, right? It's to remove, there's a lot of overgrown and kind of half-dead rhododendron in there, so it's really about removing those, and then these are just the forms that these plant beds would take. So you're not gonna end up necessarily with a flat path, but it will be a clearer path, right? So it'll be a long path, but we're not intending to do any serious grading on that stuff.
Okay. But you are going to clear it out since it's steep slopes, and I was trying to look at the steep slope disturbance plan, and it didn't appear that that area in that back there where you have some of those paths was included as part of the steep slopes. But I don't know if I should ask you that, or if I should ask
Well, you can
Clark that later.
start with me.
Okay, so that's one thing I'm concerned about. If you're taking away some of the things that are holding that slope in place, can you talk about what you're going to be doing to make sure that the slope doesn't go anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're only taking out things that are dead or dying, right? So the intent is to preserve the character, preserve the understory, all healthy and living things, right? So there really will not be destabilized earth. Obviously there'll be construction methods as far as like erosion mat and so on to prevent that as it's being planted. But historically, having worked in the town for about 15 years, landscaping, as long as we're not actually regrading it, is not technically disturbing of the slope, right? As long as we're not changing the grade and the drainage patterns on that slope. And maybe Andrew can add to that explanation.
The other thing was that 18-inch white oak, I think you said it was, that's going to be preserved, it's right up against the wall. Could you talk about how your realistic expectation of if that's going to be able to stay, and how the height of that is going to match up with the wall that's there, plus the landscaping that's on top of that, and will that canopy be tall enough to go over the patio?
Yeah, those are tall trees, right? Those are at least 50 feet tall. And we've done this quite a number of times. I mean, you have to be very careful. So we hire a licensed professional like a Bartlett Tree Service or similar. We did one a couple of years ago on Hobart where we had a very large, much larger than this beech tree, and we had to retain, so we did root pruning well ahead of time, and then we did deep root fertilization afterwards and monitoring. So that would be the same approach here, and that tree is doing well. So that house, I think, is there 2 to 3 years, and I haven't noticed any issues with it. So same approach would be here.
Okay. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Marie. Mr. Novak.
Thank you. I have no questions.
All right, thank you. Board, what questions do you have for this witness? Mr. Bell.
Very quick question. You've mentioned the reduction in the width of the driveway, and maybe Andrew will be talking about some of the civil engineering aspects of it. But since you did bring up the issue of materials, the elimination of the gravel driveway, could you just talk about what the materials of the new proposed driveways are?
As of today, we're proposing an impervious surface, meaning asphalt. We may end up doing oil and chip, which is a gravel-applied surface, but there's no intention at this point to use like pervious paving and so on. For a while there, when we were much over on coverage, that was one of our strategies. However, it doesn't even reduce the amount of coverage in Summit.
No, it's not in the ordinance. The question, corollary question is, even though it's not in the ordinance, it does have a benefit, whether
Sure.
it's recognized or not.
We
And
feel-
would you consider that at this point still, or not?
Well, I think, and Andrew can definitely speak to this better than I, but because I think we're something like 12 times the amount of storage capacity that is actually required, that's far more than the permeable pavers would provide. Typically, it's around 12% reduction. So I think we're way over what that would do.
The intent of the question was to set an example.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. How about the interested public? Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. All right, thank you, Mr. Kest. Mr. Weber.
I would ask that Andrew Clark be called to the stand to be sworn in to give testimony in this matter.
Excellent.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Andrew Clark, C-L-A-R-K-E.
Thank you, and you two have appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
Freshly renewed license.
Glad to hear it. I imagine we'll accept you back once again.
Absolutely. Welcome back, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Before I get rolling here, I'm going to hand out two things. Yeah,
Yes.
sure. This and So what Dave's handing out is two things. One is a drawing, full-size, normal drawing that did not make it in the revised documentation, but it's the updated steep slope plan, just to reflect the slightly modified limits of disturbance versus the original submission. And then the second thing is a letter-size sheet that is the updated site data.
All right, I think we're going to mark these exhibits. Mr.
Yes,
Clark.
we'll mark the steep slope plan as A4, and then the letter size sheet with the update as A5.
Okay.
Thanks.
They get it.
So just to describe that as you take a look, the steep slopes plan is very much like the original submission that was made. There is a minor modification in the rear of the site as to where the limited disturbance is based on the revisions we made and slight change in the configuration of the walls. So the disturbance area is now totaling 7,700 square feet instead of 7,500 square feet, which was previously indicated. So that's the one document. The other letter size sheet with the site data is updated. So this project has been a little dynamic, let's say. It's had a life of its own. We've done a number of revisions, gone around and around, and in this final prep for this meeting, I said, I really need to just sit down and go through all my coverage numbers again and just make sure, triple check again to make sure that what I've got here is what we have, what we're presenting. So that's what this represents. In doing that, there was, one transposed number and then a couple of things that had changed. And I'll talk about the details of those, but this is reflective of what is currently on the plan. In other words, the site data chart that's on the plan, on this revised plan, doesn't accurately reflect all of the numbers the way this sheet now does. So this should be what we're using as the actual numbers and the current.
And what you're referring to, what's been marked as A5?
A5, I believe that was, yes. A4 is the soil erosion and A5 is the site data. With that, I will jump in here. So first, I'm just going to walk through the existing conditions. I'm going to use that steep slope plan that was just submitted as the basis for that, since it has the existing conditions on the left side. I conducted the survey of the property a number of years ago when we had brought a previous application in front of the board, and then updated the application, updated the survey work as we approached this current application that we're putting in. So these conditions are current. The existing condition is depicted on the left side based on my survey, and obviously I'm showing the steep slope area. What we have in the existing condition, as has been indicated previously, is the dwellings located centrally. On this, you can see on the front, there's a dashed line, and I have a label that shows this roof overhang that we've been discussing, and that also extends along the rear of the dwelling. So of the main body, not the one-story piece on either end. And so that roof overhang is existing, that's there, and that's going to be continued with this project. The driveway, as was indicated, is a loop drive, but again, versus the proposed configuration, we're much farther to the east. We're almost over to the boundary on the right side, the east side, and then it comes along the front. It's a little bit wider along the front, and then it comes almost down just short of the intersection in really what's sort of an undesirable proximity to the intersection. There was and is a residual piece of driveway that came around to the back on the right side behind, but wasn't really, there's no garage back there currently. The garage is the detached garage that's down below. And as was indicated, there's all these steps. So there were all these railroad tie steps that led all the way down to the garage down here. And then was a sort of a stacked stone wall in the back, a patio, and then the stacked stone wall sort of managing a little bit of the grade. It really just created a very minor, less sloped area at the bottom of that wall. The overall topography is such that from the front of the house, the grades very gently grade towards the street. And then once you get to the house, everything else pitches to the rear, to the north. Almost directly towards the neighboring lot 5. Once you pass that patio, this is where all this whole steep slope section is. It's sort of sweeping along the back third of the property, and then goes back to not steep slopes where the stone drive was accessing the carriage house garage off of Fernwood. And right on the edge, there's a stone wall which we're going to retain and repair as needed. Those are the existing conditions. There's no formal stormwater management that's existing. So everything is overland flow towards the back or a little bit towards the street. It's very flat in a driveway. That's not very well drained either. It's actually so flat that I'm sure there's some ponding in the existing condition that occurs. And so that's the existing condition. Now I'm going to turn to the proposed condition, which I'm now going to refer to the lot grading plan that was submitted and last revised. It's dated February 13, 2025, last revised April 7, 2026. So recently revised. As you may have seen on the previous application, we were, of course, much farther over on lot coverage. We've done a lot of work to refine this whole plan and bring it down to where it is now. The result of that is the main area of savings was there was a wider area which was a subject of one of the potential variances in front of the house where we were 18 feet wide. That's been eliminated. And the entire driveway, except for outside the garage area, has been brought down to 11 feet wide. So that's a totally functional driveway, but it's actually a little narrower than the existing. The existing had some more width along the front and even on the edges. We've also brought the driveway in from this east side quite a bit. So it's got some space over there for the landscaping that Jarrett was referring to. And we also brought the other side farther from the intersection. So it's a much more comfortable and safer proximity to the intersection now than what is existing. So we have this loop drive, comes around to the back to the garage. You have the addition with the garage there, the addition on the left side. We're proposing a more expansive porch in the front. The roof overhangs are being maintained and are shown on there. The roof overhang in the rear is also being maintained, and we're actually adding a matching roof overhang above the garage doors in the back, so that's contributing also to the building coverage in that sense. We have the green patio outside in this rear outdoor space. We have the patio, some few steps down, there's the greenhouse and the gardens just to the left of it, and then the pool is down some more steps. So the pool, you know, we have the level where the patio is, it's down a couple of feet to where the greenhouse is, and then it's down a couple of more feet to where the pool is. So we have sort of like 3 levels, but they're not separated by a lot vertically, but it adds up. And so that brings the pool level down. That was part of what we were doing, was trying to manage some of the wall heights and the impact of the walls for our own property and for the neighbors. The wall section that we were discussing earlier about the variance being in the front yard, the 4 foot in the front yard is right in this area here, the back left of the pool. It's 6 feet and comes down to 4, so it's like a 14-foot stretch there, but it's a foot closer to the road than what the house is, which means it's technically in the front yard, even though it's behind the 50-foot required front yard. So it's at 56.5 feet instead of 57.5 feet. So we're going to just pull that wall in to eliminate that, and then it won't be in the front yard, but it's still going to be at the highest point right there, 6 feet. The rest of these walls, we made adjustments with this plan and the revision to keep those all 4 feet or less. The main feature in the engineering plan and the grading plan that is attendant this whole project in order to support the steep slope disturbance that we're recognizing and the building coverage excess and the lot coverage excess is we're doing, I'd say, an over-the-top job, definitely an excellent job with stormwater. As was indicated, we were much farther over on lot coverage, and so with this revision, rather than tuning down the stormwater, I left the design the way it was so that we actually have a little overcapacity. So it should just add some suspenders to the belts that we already have so that we got a full collection system here. And the way that works is there's a roof ridge that runs right along the middle of the main body of the house. So that whole front section of the roof, and then the loop driveway up to this point where it bends to go around back, all of that's being captured with 2 inlets, one in the driveway, and we've graded to those inlets, and then the roof leaders in the front are all being managed with this double tank system in the front, that drywall number 1. The other feature that's in this front portion is the roof leaders themselves are going to be routed first through the cistern. The cistern, the whole point of it is, and I've run into this system a couple of times, or a similar system, basically it takes roof water when it rains, and then you use that for irrigation. Now, there's some layers to how that works, but if you get to a rain condition where you exceed the capacity of that cistern, that's when the roof water then moves from an overflow out of the cistern into the tanks. So in this case, it's sort of like another measure that's on top of the tank system, and we're going to reuse or utilize some of that rainwater for irrigation. There's also, like, when you don't have rain, First of all, it's not a problem with stormwater, but when you're using that for irrigation, there's a whole system of floats in there, and you have to add water to it when you're actually doing the irrigation. So there's some functionality to that, but essentially it's just an extra measure of stormwater management that we have in this front section. And then after that, it would go to the dry well. The driveway drains both go straight to the dry well. Then the second system is in the driveway itself in the back right here. That would take, there's a roof line that runs sort of down the middle of the proposed addition in the back that meets up with this line in the front. So there's an L-shaped roof area in the back, plus the driveway that comes all through here. All that gets picked up by the drain and the roof leaders and is being managed with this 2-tank system. Then we have another 2-tank system down in the low area down here that picks up the balance of the roof, which is an inverted L here, and then the greenhouse, this roof, and then all of this patio area and hardscaping in here will get intercepted at the wall. And of course the wall drains, all the drainage for the wall can tie into that too. So this is definitely a robust system that will handle all this. Technically, we're increasing the lot coverage, I think about 800 square feet from existing, and we're about 200 square feet over what's permitted. We're collecting each system. I just left the design the same so that there's uniformity in the design and the construction of those. So each one is designed to handle 4,800 square feet, so that's 13,000 square feet. It's almost every bit of our impervious coverage that we're proposing. So it's like 10 or 12 times what we would normally be required to do, and will result in a site that's going to be very well managed for the Tatrias, and will have no negative impacts to the neighbors in the back, which is where the water would go. In addition to that, the portions of the steep slope area that we are disturbing is effectively eliminating those portions of the steep slope. So again, I've testified this many times that my view is once you get in and start disturbing steep slopes, to me, at the end of it, if possible, you would have no remaining steep slopes if it's done well and you have a nice project that results from it. The idea being that you take a steep slope, and with that steepness and the runoff, that's where the threat of property damage and erosion and things of that nature come in. So if you take and level that off, it calms any stormwater runoff. So that, in addition to actually capturing and managing all that runoff, is going to create an excellent condition on this property in that regard. I can walk through the site data numbers real quick so we just all know what those are. One thing with the building coverage is that on my coverage calculations at the bottom, the top portion of that is all building coverage. In this case, it's made up of the house itself, roof overhangs, the porch, and the greenhouse. There was, in the previous submission and what you have on your plan from that revision, there was about 220 square feet of terrace. That was a legacy item that I had that I cleaned up, because we used to have, like one of the older versions, coming out the back here, we had a much bigger area than the little landing that's there that was, a terrace that was raised more than a foot above the ground. So that's no longer in the picture. So all of the landings and steps are now included in the patio, walks and patios number, which is towards the bottom. So it's no longer building coverage. The roof overhangs we were talking about, there's the existing overhangs, and the porch in this area in the front is 361 square feet. It subsumes some of the roof overhang that's there, so there's, it's stacked up, so I didn't double count that. But the roof overhang is, the 490 consists of the portion to the left of the porch, the right of the porch, the portion in the back, and then the new roof overhang over the garage. The greenhouse is 273 square feet. So if you look at those numbers in a breakdown sense, the house and greenhouse is like, I think, 20 square feet over what's permitted for building coverage. The rest of that is what makes up the majority of the overage, which is the roof overhangs and the front porch. And I think Dave suggested it, and I've seen it in other applications. The sort of mitigating aspect to that is that those elements, first, they're attractive elements of the dwelling itself, but they don't carry the same massing that the actual house does. So that's an offset to sort of the excess building coverage that we have in this case. Then below that section is the rest of everything else. You've got the walks and patios, which is 2265. The driveway is just over 4,100 square feet. The pool surface is now included in Summit and impervious coverage. That's always one of these debates that always goes on. But you know, when it rains, it doesn't run off from there, so why isn't it impervious coverage? So it's included, it's in there. However, we want to end that debate. The retaining walls we included, obviously the emergency generator. The retaining walls in most applications wouldn't really be accounted for or included, but in this case, based on what we're doing here and the amount of coverage we have, I wanted to just make sure we have it all on the table and we know what we have there. We're actually going to design the walls so that they taper towards the top down to a small reveal at the surface, so you know, a 6-inch profile, so it's actually, they'll be very attractive in the field, but also not much impervious area that's exposed. But we counted it nonetheless. So that's the breakdown, and then above it is just a tabulation of how those numbers stand up. So I think that's the basic overview. I probably missed something, but we can do some questions and figure out the rest.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Board experts, what questions do you have for this witness?
Well, I think he's gone over it pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I'm impressed with the dry wells being oversized. I just want to make sure that when we do take tributary areas that go to them, we're not overloading any one of them.
Absolutely. No, in fact, ultimately, the way it works out and the way I did this, we have a little excess in each tank. So ultimately, it means that we're probably handling more like 4 inches than 3 inches for the tributary areas for each of those systems.
Right.
And we did do perk tests already. We already there were soil tests done, and the soils are suitable.
Okay. All right. That's all I had.
Mr. Novak, anything?
Just one question. Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any retaining walls / fence combinations that exceed 10 feet in height?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of commentary in that. I think it's possible that there is in one area past the end of the driveway, and it's only if you go from the bottom of the lower wall, count that wall, and then we're coming 6 feet back, and then we have another wall. Now, the walls themselves are only 4 feet, but if you count the 4 and the 4, plus the grade change between them, I think we're at 10 feet from the bottom of this wall to the top of that wall, maybe 11 feet. So I guess it becomes a question of where do you make it a separate wall?
It's a great question.
You know,
I don't know the answer to that one.
it's another one of those debates that I've been involved in. I mean, some people say the height of the wall, once you go, so if it's a 4-foot wall, you've gone 4 feet, then it's a separate wall.
Mm-hmm.
Some say 1.5 times. I went with 1.5 times on the spacing just to try to keep them as independent walls. But whether that triggers the need for variance or not, I'm not sure what the answer to that would be.
I would have to take a look to see if there's any regulations regarding that, because I've seen the same issue as well in terms of specificity or lack thereof regarding wall spacing. So, yeah, thank you. I'll take a look, see if I can find it.
Okay, thanks.
And if I can, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Clark, doesn't the Uniform Construction Code also have something to say with regard to providing safety with regard to walls and wall heights?
Yeah, so in terms of the wall height and whether or not you need fall protection, If you're over 4 feet, then it becomes a question of whether there's pedestrian movement through there. So, for example, we're going to want a railing or a low fence of some kind in this area from the pool over to these steps, just because you do have pedestrian movement in there. In these areas in here, you're going to have a lot of landscaping. So, you know, it's not really an area where you're moving freely through it. To the extent that we need to have some fencing, we will. But it's going to be fairly limited in this case based on the design and the conditions on site.
Thank you. Board, what questions do you have for Mr. Clark?
Just one.
Go ahead, Don.
So if I'm standing in the driveway in front of the garages and I turn around and look to my north, how high is the wall in there?
So if you turn and look this way, so it's going down.
Oh, so it's going down?
Yeah, it's going down on that side.
So the garage, the driveway's grade and then it goes down from there and those retaining walls
Correct.
then go down?
That's right.
So where's the generator?
The generator is labeled and it's shown right,
But that's, is
right
that,
in that space, so it's
is
gonna
that
be.
grade level with the driveway?
Yes, yes, exactly. And it'll be, you know, landscape, they want to
Any
screen
clue how
themselves.
big that is?
What's that?
Any clue how big that is?
I actually don't know what the specs of it are. I think I have it on there pretty accurately. I think I have it at 4x8. You know, I don't recall if it's intended to be a whole house generator. Those are typically bigger.
Yeah, that's where I was going. It's a whole house generator, it's pretty big. Because there's electric, possibly natural gas. Well, I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Don.
Yes, Mr. Butler.
Quick question on materials. Thank you for providing the coverage calculations, and it's pretty obvious that a lot of the capability of adding so much to the size of the dwelling comes from reducing the stone driveway from over 3,000 feet to 0. My question is, what happens to the stone? Is there any chance that it could be reused on site? What is the stone?
The stone at the.
Yeah, I understand that. I
This
see
big
it on
area
the
down
drawing.
here.
Right. What type of stone
I
is
mean,
it, and can it be used on site?
My recollection of that driveway is that in some areas, might be generous to call it stone. It's aged. So there's probably some dirt and grass that has made its appearance in there too. Whether or not any of that can be used and screened and you know, put to some other purpose, I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's a good question.
That's why I asked it.
Thank you.
That's a good question. If there is any way of not putting it
Yeah.
into landfill, it would be great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Questions from the audience for this witness?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I just
Yeah,
have two
go ahead.
questions in terms of conditions. We talked about stormwater, we're going to retain jurisdiction, and then do we have to do subject to final plans being submitted and reviewed and approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I do have one more. I'm not sure I followed it, but that issue you were raising about the spacing of the walls, were you able to research that and see if there's a variance needed for that?
I did, and there's no specificity. This is in section 35-9.8B3. The last sentence of that regulation reads, "The two lowest exterior walls of any accessory building or structure shall not exceed a vertical dimension of 10 feet." So there is no specificity about whether or not a retaining wall that steps back would be considered one structure or two separate structures. I'm not too sure how the board has typically interpreted that in the past. If I was to take a very strict interpretation of that, I would look at it as a singular structure being 10 feet, not necessarily looking at walls being stepped back.
So I was also taking a look at, I see in 3514.1, it's like subsection, there's a prior subsection, but section 5 referring to the combination of fence and retaining walls shall not exceed 10 feet. And fences and retaining walls or fences and walls are separately defined explicitly to refer to those structures. It doesn't refer to others in the nearby location or give us any sort of specificity. So I did want to clarify, What are we talking about in that corner where they're relatively close by? I don't think there's
Yeah,
any.
it's a short run right in this corner here, if you were to go worst case scenario, I'd say.
When you say in this corner here, you're talking about
I'm
the
sorry,
northeast?
the northeast corner, just behind, or just north of the driveway.
And so what are the structures that, I understand
So
there's
there's a
two
4-foot
walls?
wall and a 4-foot wall.
And any fence on top?
I mean, we hadn't planned on a fence in that location right now.
But then it's the grade change in between those two 4-foot walls that could push it over 10 feet.
Correct. That's right.
I would not think our code contemplates that. They're two distinct walls at that point, and I
I've
wouldn't think.
seen this in other jurisdictions, but it's very specifically addressed in those jurisdictions. So they must have come up at some point and they say, whenever you have walls, in series, they're treated as the same if, and then there's conditions.
I would tend to agree. I think this regulation is really aimed at,
A singular structure.
yeah, a singular structure and discouraging what I would almost call like a castle-like wall that you would see.
Right.
I think this is designed to encourage stepping retaining walls back like that, so you don't get that large-scale visual element in your face.
Well, if the board feels the need, we can certainly discuss in detail during executive session and see if there's any kind of appetite to go into this further, but no. All right. No questions from the audience? All right. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman, unless the board's planner wants to hear a brief synopsis by Mr. Rosen as to the affirmative and negative criteria.
I think he's good.
Good. All right. I submit the application to the approval of the board.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Weber. Mr. Ball, conditions and number of votes required.
Sure, so I have the 3 potential conditions noted here. First is compliance with the conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the applicant shall revise their plans so that the retaining walls, which are over 4 feet, shall be brought into compliance. And then a third, I know Mr. Feskins just raised the possibility of retaining stormwater jurisdiction. I think it's a robust proposal that they're saying, but if we want to keep it just in case, I imagine Mr. Weber will have no objection to that here.
No objection.
So we will retain stormwater jurisdiction for a period of 2 years after the completion of construction.
And I apologize, I skipped a step. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to give commentary about this application? Seeing none. All right.
And then just finally, we're dealing with only C variances in this case, so 4 votes are required to approve.
Okay, with that, let's get executive session started. Who would like to begin?
I'll kick it off.
Thank you, Jay.
So when this application first came in, I had my reservations. I understand this house, I've seen it, I drive by it all the time. I think what the applicant and their team has done about revisiting, revising, understanding what the board's questions and concerns were based on the original application, they've gone out of their way to make this application better as presented, assuming these numbers are all accurate, subject to our experts' confirmations. They're keeping the existing structure, they're revitalizing it, reforming it, and then utilizing the land, which in my mind is a hardship based on the actual gradient change, because I know this slope very well. I think what they're proposing here is very, very appropriate, proper, fits the community, fits the neighborhood, and will be generationally well supported here.
Tom.
For the exact same reason, I was going to open the exact same way. I came into this initially, when we first heard this, very reluctant based on the large increase in lot coverage. Happy to see it come down so far. Just to comment about some of the other variances. Height variance, as has been noted, it's not being driven by an actual increasing the structure. It's because the grade around the house is changing. Again, the accessory building height, sometimes you say, why do you need a variance for the accessory building height? Can't you make it compliant? Well, the architect made a good argument. It's to match the design. It's for better aesthetics. I can agree with that as well. It's a very attractive and thoughtful landscaping plan. Mr. Kest, as always, is a very attractive plan. It's very in keeping with the neighborhood, so I could support it as well.
Who else?
Mr. Bell?
I would simply add that the environmental features that were described by all three of the experts presenting on behalf of their client are extraordinary and commendable.
Right. I would tend to agree with my colleagues. They said it very well. I always appreciate when a team hears feedback, whether it's from this board or from the neighbors, and they respond accordingly. And, I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into not only the architectural design, but the landscape design as well. And so with that, I can certainly support this application. All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
You go.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Chairman Liketts?
Yes. Good luck.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I just get 5 minutes? My wife's been calling me, so I won't know if I have an emergency.
Sure. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. All right, let's continue. 35 Bedell Avenue.
Good evening. Stephen Joseph for the applicant. 35 Bedell, this is a notice application. If we could enter that into evidence, please.
I don't know that we need to mark it, but we've reviewed the notice and it's acceptable.
Thank you. So this is located on the corner of Bedell Ave and Bellevue Ave in the R25 zone. It's an undersized lot, and there's some existing non-conforming conditions associated with the size of the lot and the location of the lot, the home on the lot. The applicant's proposing a 280 square foot second floor addition and a new deck with aesthetic improvements to the outside of the property. In order to accomplish this, the applicant's requesting a D variance for expanding the already non-conforming FAR on the property, and several C variances for lot coverage, building coverage, and setback. We have several witnesses this evening. The first witness we're going to bring up is Peter, our engineer, to just describe the site for you. Let's get him sworn in and qualified.
All right, great.
All right, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Peter Miskov, M-I-S-K-O-V as in Victor.
Thank you. And can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Sure. I'm a civil engineer working with Casey and Keller out of Millburn, New Jersey. I've been practicing site engineering with them for over the past 13 years. I have a civil engineering degree from Rutgers, and I have a professional engineering license in the state of New Jersey that's current.
You've been qualified by other boards in the past?
Yes.
And your
Yes.
license is currently good standing this evening?
It is.
I would ask the board to accept this application.
Any questions? Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept his credentials?
We would. Welcome. Please proceed.
Thank you.
Peter, if you could just briefly describe the site.
Sure. So obviously, we've been hired as the engineers on this site. I'm familiar with all the submitted documents, memos, and I visited the site several times. So the project site is located at 35 Badu Avenue and is designated as tax lot 1, block 2006 from the city of Summit tax maps. The 12,324 square foot property is a corner lot located at the intersection of, just so they get an idea, of Bedaux down here and Bellevue Avenue. The parcel situated in R25 residential zone with properties to the north, west, and south being in the same zone, and properties to the east being located in the R10 zone. The project site is currently improved with a 2.5-story single-family home, asphalt driveway, paver walks and patio, and other associated site improvements. No changes have been made to the improvements since the date of the survey of July 17, 2025. The property's topography currently slopes from from this corner, the northeastern corner of an elevation of 364 and to the southeast, down to the northwest to an elevation of roughly 351. That's just a rough explanation of our site there. The applicant proposes to construct the second. Okay, the applicant's proposing to construct the second floor addition of 280 square feet, along with the removal of a paver patio located here with some concrete steps, and to construct a proposed deck in its place. The proposed second floor addition is located over existing building coverage area. There are several existing non-conforming conditions which the planner will go through, but we are not exacerbating the front setback below Badu. We are increasing the building coverage only because the proposed deck is being considered building coverage, but the building footprint itself is remaining the same. And we are slightly reducing lot coverage across the site due to removing of the paver patio and associated steps. Driveway remains the same. The front entrance remains the same, access to it. From an engineering standpoint, the proposed improvements will not alter existing grading or drainage patterns that will not adversely impact adjacent properties. There's no changes to utility connections. The dwelling will utilize all existing connections in Badu or Bellevue Avenue.
No, so this is not an engineering-heavy project. If
Right.
there's any questions of the engineer.
Mr. Joseph, can you speak into the mic, please?
I apologize.
Thank you.
This is not an engineering-heavy project. If there's any questions for the engineer, he's happy to answer.
Okay, great. Board experts, what questions do you have for the project engineer?
So they're reducing the amount of impervious coverage on the lot, so there's no stormwater mitigation that's required. They're not changing the drainage patterns. You have your downspouts going to the same place they were before?
Most likely. We will definitely add those to the plan and confirm that.
Okay. There's a few housekeeping things that I discussed with the office about cleaning up on the plans, but I don't see any problems with it, so that's
Great.
fine.
And we're willing to
Thank you,
comply.
Marie. All right, Mr. Novak, anything?
Just one question, just wanted to confirm, no tree removal on site?
No larger tree removal. There might be some smaller trees and shrubs that get affected during construction, but they are going to try to save the large 48-inch tree.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Board, what questions do you have for this witness?
I just wanted that last tree mentioned. Is that the yellow poplar that the forester mentioned?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you, Tom. Interested public, what questions do you have for this witness? Seeing none? All right, great. Thank you.
All right, great. Let's bring up our architect. The first thing you'll notice about this witness is this is not David Washington. So David Washington prepared the plans for this project, and he was lucky enough to be able to retire, not something I thought we were allowed to do in this business, and he's down in Florida. So Highland here has been retained. He took the same plans that were submitted here, he just put them on his letterhead after reviewing them so he could sign off on them, and he confirmed all the measurements. But we'll get him sworn in.
They brought me out of retirement as well.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Highland Hall Turner, Turner.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Yes, I'm a graduate of Cornell University. First point of registration was New York City. I'm not going to tell you when. Reincorporated my office in New Jersey in 1991 and secured licensure in 1991.
And license is still in good standing, I imagine?
It's in great standing.
Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept his credentials?
I've appeared in more than 30 or 40 zoning and planning board meetings throughout the state.
Perfect.
Amongst other states.
Yes, welcome. Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Oh, all right. Well, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, as was discussed, I'm filling in for someone that is slightly detained. I've reviewed the documents. It's not something we normally do, but I am more than willing to, after reviewing the drawings, to accept the responsibility of the information that is in both the zoning and requirement. We also did a three-dimensional rendering as opposed to showing you what that, I took the photograph and then superimposed the design over an existing photograph from the intersection down at the corner between Bordeaux and Bellevue Avenue. And I did this probably around 3 weeks ago.
Do you have a date for that, Alan?
A date?
Approximately?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Maybe we do
And-
that. We have to enter as an exhibit that was
Yes,
not submitted prior to the.
That'll be A1.
A1, thank you.
Now, the long and short of this is the client has lived in this house since
2017.
I was going to say that 2017. The residence, the main residence was originally built in 1917. And a very, very small footprint, to say the very least. It's a center hall colonial, but sort of looks like something a little more European in style. On the side facing you was an original enclosed porch, which we had elected to increase the size of the master bedroom and provide Jana's wife a bathroom, a sunroom, and an extended closet. The original closets were miniature, and for a master bedroom, it only had a 5x8 bathroom. So a little bit behind the times, but not uncommon for a home that was built in 1917, or designed in 1917. I thought the design was sympathetic and empathetic to the existing building, given its age. The reason for that, what was, in my view, what was attempted to do was maintain the existing block building to emphasize the fact that we're not trying to incorporate the thing as a replica, but showing that this is actually in addition to an earlier form building, but very sympathetic, both in scale, color, texture, and roofing materials. The extent of the square footage allocation for that second floor is 280 square feet. And could be, for the most part, why we're here, essentially. The building originally was a little bit over pre-existing the FAR. So we were approximately 17%. The required is about 14%. So that's where we started by adding on the 820. We're now at 21, or about 3% more for that second floor. Obviously, what is we're occurring, let's take a look at this, is the front side of the property cuts through the left side of that and sort of shears the building a little bit on the left quadrant. I can't point to it, so forgive me. But that's what sort of created throws us into the nonconformity. Lot coverage requires a variance specifically because the existing was 37.15. However, we tried to reduce that, and we're going to 36.81%. The FAR, as I was saying, started at about 28, so we're adding about another 3% just with that 280 square feet for the extension of the master bathroom. The only other thing was, of course, I'll talk about the deck. previously to this deck being proposed, there are 2 staircases. You couldn't get out of one part of the house. You had to take literally 2 stairs down to this terrace that's below there, one from the left side of the house, and it was sort of very difficult to sort of manage those steps coming up and down, in and out. So the attempt was to try to simplify that, create an outside deck, more connected to the main floor, and sort of use that as essentially the raised porch for the entire first floor in the building itself. There was also a height variance required.
No, there's the existing non-conforming condition. Yeah, the planner can talk about that.
So that is the entirety of this addition, and I think it's an improvement certainly to what was there, and also improves the lifestyle of the owners.
Board experts, what questions do you have for this witness?
I don't have any for this.
All right, Mr. Novak, what do you have?
Thank you very much. Just 2 quick questions. As a result of this addition, is there going to be a change in the number of bedrooms?
No.
Okay, so the number of bedrooms remain the same. And the facade and the roof materials of the addition, will they match the existing building?
Yes, they will, of course.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Board, what questions do you have for this witness? Mr. Turner, did you make any changes to the design, or you felt that it was, as designed, was adequate
No,
for your?
I thought it was very well handled, honestly.
Okay.
Again, it's not something we normally do, and if I objected to it, I probably wouldn't have taken this assignment.
Okay.
Or redesigned it, one of the 2.
Great. Thank you. Does the public have any questions for this witness? Seeing none? All right, great. Thank you. Next witness. Thank you,
I'll
Mr.
go back
Turner.
to retirement. Thank you very much.
We're going to bring Nick up, get him sworn in for some brief planning testimony. Is there?
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Yes, my first name is Nicholas with an H, last name Graviano, G-R-A, V as in Victor, I-A-N-O. I'm a planner and partner with Graviano and Gillis, Architects and Planners, at a business address of 101 Crawfords Corner Road in Holmdel, New Jersey.
All right, can you just tell us briefly about your background and experience?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University, a master's degree in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, a law degree from the Temple University School of Law, where I received a distinguished class performance in state and local government law. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. My license is valid. I also hold an AICP certification. I've testified in over 100 boards in 20 different counties, including all of Union County except for Winfield.
All right, I imagine the board would like to accept your credentials.
Absolutely.
Not much
Welcome.
going on in Winfield.
We're not going to hold that against you, I promise. All right, great.
Thank
Please
you, Board.
proceed.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you heard through the two professionals before me, this is a relatively simple application. It stems from the 280 square foot second floor addition to accommodate a newly designed master bathroom, master suite that's befitting of the living conditions of today's homeowner. This is a specific piece of property known as Block 2006 Lot 1. The applicant is requesting a D4 FAR variance from the board, as well as 3 C variances for front yard setback, maximum lot coverage, and maximum building coverage. First, I'll touch on the FAR variance, where in particular cases and for special reasons, the board can grant the D4 FAR variance. As all the time away from your family and friends has taught you, that the D4 variance is more akin to the D3 conditional use variance, in that the focus is on whether or not the site can still accommodate the proposal and any problems associated with the increased FAR. As the board knows, the relief cannot be granted without showing that there's no substantial detriment to the public good and will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan or zoning ordinance. I think in this case, it's clear that the site can accommodate the proposed addition to the second floor. The applicant is actually reducing impervious coverage with this proposal. So the relief for the very modest increase, 280 square feet of the FAR, can be granted without substantial detriment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. Additionally, this proposal in terms of the FAR does advance purposes of zoning of the municipal land use law, specifically Purpose A, to guide the appropriate use of lands in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Additionally, through the impeccably designed building and careful consideration to the site, it certainly promotes Purpose I, a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. The applicant is requesting a 30.68% FAR, an increase from the 28.40 which exists on the site today. The applicant is also requesting front yard setback relief, whereas 35 feet is required. The present dwelling, the first floor, has a non-conforming front yard setback. So the applicant is looking to meet that non-conforming setback for the second floor addition, because that makes rational sense from a design standpoint to meet the footprint of that first floor space that exists today. Additionally, the applicant is looking for a lot coverage variance, whereas 37.15% exists today, 36.71% is proposed with the application. Lastly, the applicant is requesting a building coverage variance, whereas 14% is permitted, 17.36% is existing, and 21.83% is proposed. The real increase in building coverage stems from the fact that the applicant's going from a patio to a deck here. So that's how you get that bump up in the building coverage. It's not an increase in pervious coverage because that patio exists today, but it is increased with the building coverage. All three of those variances can be granted under the C2 criteria, whereas it relates to a specific piece of property. Here you have a corner lot on an undersized lot in the R25 zone. The applicant must also demonstrate that it advances purposes of zoning of the municipal land use law. With respect to the C variances, it also advances purposes of A and I for the municipal land use law. The C variances can be granted without substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. I also had a chance to take a look at the master plan and master plan re-examination. Certainly no conditions of this application violate any of the goals and objectives of the master plan. And specifically, this proposal does advance a purpose of the 2000 master plan to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and flexible development techniques. I think in this situation where you do have a homeowner coming in and reducing impervious coverage, it's certainly a flexible development technique to advance purposes of zoning of the municipal land use law, and specifically with respect to the C2 variance, it does demonstrate that there are benefits to the outside community other than the applicant itself.
Great. Thank you so much. Board experts, what questions do you have for this witness?
No questions.
Mr. Novak?
I don't have any questions. The applicant covered all the statutory criteria for the FAR variance.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Board, any questions for this witness? Seeing none. How about the public? Any questions? No? All right, great. Thank you.
That concludes our direct testimony. I think I'm actually slightly under time here.
All right.
I'm impressed.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is there any comments from the public? Seeing none. All right. Mr. Ball, what do we need to approve and what are the conditions?
So I only have our one usual condition noted, compliance with the conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. And we do have a D variance associated with the FAR, so 5 votes are required to approve the application.
All right, great. Thank you, Andy. Who would like to begin our executive session?
I'll start this one. First, I want to compliment the planner. I wish all witnesses had your voice. Project very well. Could hear you, no problem. That was very good.
I'll put that on my website.
Add it to your resume, whatever, yeah.
I feel a little jealous now.
No, you're good too. You're good too. Anyway, so this lot, as I think has been clear, has kind of a double whammy. It's undersized and a corner lot, which creates, problems for doing almost anything. So, I mean, the FAR is always the major concern if there is an FAR variance needed, and I think the testimony has been given, and I accept it, that we can grant that without a substantial detriment to public good and without substantially impairing the intent and purpose of the master plan and zoning ordinance. I don't see any, it's not going to stick out in the neighborhood. It's in keeping with what's going on in the neighborhood. As has been noted, no stormwater management is needed, and I like that we get our city engineers giving comments about kind of the history of the neighborhood now, so there's apparently no history of drainage problems in the neighborhood. It's an attractive addition and makes the house more useful, so I can support it.
Great. You good?
Agree. I agree.
All right, great. Setting all sorts of speed records here. Tom said it perfectly, I think, summarizing your testimony. I agree. I think with the undersized lot and then you choosing to build something that's appropriate to the scale, not only the house, but the neighborhood, I think it's a very modest addition, right? And you're essentially keeping an existing footprint and putting an addition on. And the fact that this was designed by Mr. Washington and then endorsed by Mr. Turner gives me great confidence. So with that, I can certainly support this application.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great. Ms. Sands, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskin?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Chairman Liketz?
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is that the fastest dew variance we've ever had?
That's like,
Do not jinx us, Mr. Feskins.
Skip records, I don't know. Yeah,
No,
it's good to see that.
The gauntlet has been laid for whoever's the next applicant.
No. Somebody.
who's next?
Could I take the exhibit up here,
Yeah.
please?
Dale Drive. 36 Dale Drive, please.
That, the presentation board,
Yeah,
that
we
was
need-
the rendering for Bedell.
Yeah, we need to keep that. Okay.
Yeah.
Did we get the other one?
Thank you. All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Stephen Azzolini. I'm an attorney in Florham Park, New Jersey. I'm representing 21 Sterling LLC tonight. This is actually my first time appearing before the Summit Board. I've appeared in a lot of the towns in Morris and Union County, so I look forward to tonight's evening. And my daughter just moved to Summit, so this may not be the last time I appear before this board. Knowing my daughter, I'll be here on something on her home.
Well, if you're trying to curry favor, it's working. Please, proceed.
This application tonight involves the removal of an existing dwelling, an existing split-level house at 36 Dale Drive, and the construction of a new single-family home, 2 stories, that is consistent, we believe, with the scale, design, and character of the neighborhood. This is a fully developed residential area, and our proposal tonight represents a reinvestment in the property that will enhance both the site and the streetscape, in my opinion. Importantly, this proposed home is well within all the bulk standards for lot coverage, building coverage, floor area ratio, and the setbacks. And this underscores the fact that this is not an overdevelopment of the property. We're not looking for an overdevelopment, but rather a compliant and appropriately scaled improvement. Now, by way of relief, the applicant is seeking two variances. First, for steep slope disturbance, and second, for a front-facing garage. With respect to the garage, you will see that this is a corner lot, and the existing home already has a garage oriented toward West Lane. The proposed design continues that orientation in a manner that is consistent with the conditions of the property. And the home will now actually, you'll see, front more on Dale Drive as opposed to being kind of catty-cornered at the intersection. A key objective of our design was to create a more functional and usable rear yard, which is currently constrained by the existing layout and the site conditions. In doing so, the applicant has addressed the steep slope conditions on the property. And while variance relief is required, the disturbances have been minimized as much as possible in balancing the constraints of the lot with the need for a functional residential layout. This is a home that will be for a family, so a workable and usable rear yard is important. Also, you'll notice that we did submit a revised plan to eliminate one of the variances, which was the roof pitch. That variance is no longer required, and you should have the revised plans. They were revised to March 23rd, 2026, to eliminate that roof pitch. And that was submitted more than 10 days before the 19th. So I know the board wants to move things along. So tonight, the testimony I will present first is Andrew Clark, the site engineer, and then we'll follow with the architect Roger Winkle. A lot of this application deals with the site layout, so really Andrew's testimony is most important. And we do have our landscape architect here tonight, Joe Polachek. If there's any questions regarding landscaping, he's available to testify tonight.
Great.
All right.
Welcome back, Mr. Clark.
And we'll swear you in for this one as well, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And I'll just note for the record that Mr. Clark was, his credentials were accepted at the prior hearing, and you are good to go.
Has anything changed in the last 30 minutes, Mr. Clark, to your credentials?
I won't go that far.
Not since the last time I testified.
Excellent. Thank you, and welcome back.
All right, Mr. Clark, so you have been qualified as a professional civil engineer, so why don't you take us through the existing site conditions and with the description of the property, the location of the property, the orientation of the property, and then what we're proposing to do.
Certainly. I'm going to make reference to the lot grading plan that I prepared dated January 16th, 2026. This is unmarked from what was submitted, so it's as submitted. I'll first walk through the existing conditions briefly and just outline what's there now. This site is located on the corner of Dale and West Lane. It's in the R15 zone. It's a corner lot, obviously, as was mentioned. The existing house is a little slightly unusual orientation versus most of the houses I've seen at Summit. I've seen something like this occasionally in Florham Park. You get these developments where they put the corner lot on the angle, but it's unusual in Summit. So that's how the house is oriented. It's a bi-level house. Walk up to the front door, you're sort of in between the two floors. The driveway comes off of West Lane, and so the garage isn't directly facing West Lane, but it's mostly facing West Lane. Now, there are some steep slopes on the property. Obviously, that's the main focus of this application and the variance. Aside from the garage, there's a stretch of it in the front and a little patch right in front of the house, and then the backyard slopes up. So from us, it slopes up pretty significantly to Lot 1, which is up above us there. So we have the steep slopes to contend with, and the result of all this on the existing condition is you have this angled house, and then the backyard, there really isn't much of a backyard. It's a little hard to read on the survey the way it is. It's very clear when you go there, but there's a walk that comes from the driveway to a paver patio that's got a wall surrounding it, so the wall's up and the patio's down, and then above it is the deck. So it's one of these patio under the deck arrangements which in my experience, the patio ends up getting grossly underutilized. The deck normally gets used for, grilling and it's proximate to the main floor. And then there's this other patio that was built up from the main yard. So you come out the back, you have to walk up a few steps to like a 10, 12-foot wide leveled strip, and then another 5 steps up to this rectangular patio that's there, which again, looked from the survey, in my experience, like it was almost never used, or maybe it was used early on when it was built. But I can understand why not. It's a logistical thing just to use the patio. There is no formal stormwater management on site. There's no dry wells or anything managing the roof water or the surface flows. And then, of course, to put up a new house, we have to do the neighborhood average. So I have the neighborhood average detailed here for West and Dale. And as Mr. Azzolini indicated, we meet all the setbacks. So we meet all the setbacks, we meet the building coverage, lot coverage, FAR, we're within height, which is frankly unusual for a lot of variance applications that we have, but certainly noteworthy. The proposed conditions I'll describe now include the new dwelling, which is going to be oriented in a more normal manner to Dale Drive, with the front facing with an attractive porch across the front facing Dale. And then we're going to bring the driveway in and have this front-facing garage on West Lane. Again, it's very similar to what's there, but the alternative for this is to bring this driveway up and come in sort of a rear-loaded garage, which really would, again, nullify or greatly reduce the functionality and ability to have some kind of yard area in the back of the house. So we are preparing and creating this yard area in the back. We're going to have a porch off the right side of the house that comes down a few steps to the patio in the back. And then a yard area in here, which we'll achieve by actually taking a wall and dropping the grade in that area. So we're lower than this house in the back, and even along the side there, we're going to put, it's like most of it, it's a 2-foot wall running here. Again, we're dropping the grade a little bit just to create a better leveled area that's pitching towards the street with any runoff. That's the basic proposal in terms of the house and the improvements. We're going to implement a dry well that I've indicated right in this location, the front left corner of the house. That's going to capture the entire roof area, including the porch. Just to put it in context, we're increasing the lot coverage by about 600 square feet, roughly. We're handling 2,700 square feet, so as I tend to do with these types of applications, we're about 4 times what would normally be required based on the increase in the lot coverage. There was one point about the roof and the adjustment to that pitch, so we're now conforming, but the result is that the height that I have reflected on this plan does not account for that change in the roof. So the height, we add about 18 inches to the height, but where I was at was 31.8, so we're now like not even 33 feet with the height. So we're still well conforming by modifying that roof pitch to conform to the ordinance requirement for that. So then the steep slopes, what we're doing is in this back area here, we are disturbing these slopes and effectively eliminating them by creation of this yard area. We're not going to touch the slopes that are closest to the street out here, but then this stretch of steep slopes that's closest to the existing house will be disturbed by the construction of the new house. So we're disturbing this section and a portion in the back. I think the numbers run out. We have about 6,300 square feet of total steep slopes. We're disturbing about 4,800 square feet. Most of that is eliminating the steep slope, which, as I testified to before in that previous hearing, to me is a desirable thing ultimately. The interesting and sort of good part about this application is that no matter what, we can't negatively affect a neighbor. All the drainage patterns are pitched to the street here and to West Lane. So there's no downhill neighbor such as it is other than the right-of-way. So in that sense, it's, as we've seen with other similar applications, the key is just to make sure that the site's controlled well during construction. And I think that can be done very effectively. We have this area where it's not a steep slope where I'm going to place the silt fence that we can manage very nicely any of the construction activities and not affect the roadway itself. So I think this project can be accomplished very effectively and end with a very nice product and result at the end, despite the disturbance of the steep slopes. With regards to the front-facing garage, what I would say, in addition to the fact that the existing dwelling has been this way for a very long time, so it's not unusual on this property in particular, I recently did drive the neighborhood again in preparation for the meeting, and there are a number of, it's not at all uncommon in this neighborhood, this part of town, for corner lots to have a front-facing garage and a similar type of arrangement. That's not unusual generally, because there are other towns that I work in that also don't want the front-facing garages, but some of them even have like a waiver for corner lots because they recognize that if you're fronting here, this is sort of the side front. So I don't think it's going to end up as an unusual or unattractive condition. It's something everyone's been used to seeing with this house. It'll just be a newer, nicer house that's there. And I think that covers all the main points. I'm ready to field some questions.
Marie, what questions do you have for Mr. Clark?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
You know, there was an increase in impervious coverage, but he's mitigated it with dry wells, which we reviewed those calculations. We don't take any exception to it, so
Okay.
I'm satisfied.
Mr. Note?
Just a few questions. Thank you very much. And this is largely based off of Mr. Barron's memo dated April 22nd, 2026. Was there any consideration for, and I don't know if this is a question for you as a landscape architect, so I apologize. Was there any consideration for some additional landscaping near the AC units along the side of the house?
Well, that's a requirement in the ordinance that the mechanical, ground-mounted mechanical units are required to be screened with either dense landscaping or fencing. I normally actually have that on my plan. I didn't make the notation on this case, but will certainly be there on an updated plan. That's a requirement anyway, so we're not looking for relief from that.
Okay, great. He also questioned whether or not it was possible to add some additional plantings along the front of the property. He mentioned street trees specifically.
Well, there are two pretty substantial street trees that are existing in the front that we're going to maintain along on Dale. There's another significant tree, 24-inch tree right up in this corner here that's going to be maintained. We did talk about that a little bit. I don't think we have any objection or problem whatsoever with adding another street tree or two along West Lane where there's space to do that. So we'd be happy to do that. I think Mr. Linson may want to take a look at the landscape plan and coordinate with us to make sure he's okay with whatever we're doing here. Because there was, speaking of landscaping, there was a point that Mr. Linson did make about the arborvitae row that's on the right side here, lot 24. There's a mature row of arborvitaes that's in there, and that he was interested to see if we could adjust this wall to make sure that we're protecting that screen. And I stopped by the property again and did some measurements. I think that's not a problem. The arborvitaes start about in there, sort of near where the existing corner of the house is, and run back to that wall, so they're sort of like in this area. I think if we move the wall in a couple of feet, and again, we can coordinate with Mr. Linson on that to make sure that we're satisfying any concerns he has about that, to maintain that arborvitae hedge, because it is a mature, dense screen that's already there.
And you've had opportunity to speak with our landscape architect?
Yeah, we've talked about it a bit too, and he agrees that, you know, a couple of feet on that wall would do the trick.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark, would it be your testimony that if you move the garage entrance around the corner to the side of the house, that you would increase impervious coverage and increase lot coverage because the increase in driveway size?
For sure.
Okay.
No question.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
What's the exact demolition work, I mean, limit of demolition? Because I didn't see any demo work.
Well, I mean, on here, I have dashed in the background, you can see the existing house footprint, but, you know, essentially, to do the demo, we put the silt fence where I have it shown, and then demolition would occur in this area where the existing improvements are.
So what's the extent of the demo?
You mean how many square feet is it? Is
No,
that
no,
what you're?
is that a full house demolition?
Yes, yeah, so the house will be removed, the deck, the patio, and then this upper patio,
The whole
all that would be taken out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Malay. Tom?
Yeah, just one other question. I don't know if we can save having to swear in the landscaper by asking you this question. The other comment from our forester was about possibly adjusting the lawn area to try to save the 24-inch diameter.
Yeah, so what he's referring to is there's, you can see it X'd out here, it's near the 202 contour label. So that sits right about here. It would be a pretty substantial reduction in the lawn area, and I think we really want to have as much, you know, passive outdoor as we can. Again, we're more than happy. We are doing some replantings. We're satisfying the, you know, the tree removal ordinance, but we're happy to add a one or two, you know, shade trees, street trees in this vicinity here, which to me would make the most sense. Because we already have a shade tree here, we have one here, so one or two in here would probably be a nice complement and sort of offset the loss of that one black gum.
Yeah, I think keeping that, would at least try to do something in the spirit of what he's asking for. I don't think he's going to the mat on this one particular tree, but I think that matches the spirit, I think.
Yeah, and again, you know, run it by John, what we make as a revision for that.
So some kind of condition, Andy, addressing that?
Yeah, I think we're anticipating a landscaping submission to the city forester, subject to his review and approval.
Perfect.
Great. What other questions do we have for Mr. Clark? Mr. Bell?
I'm wondering if you had a chance to read the report from the Environmental Commission as well as that from the city forest.
I did.
Any thoughts on their suggestions about saving additional trees?
Well, I think we have made our efforts to save the trees we can, and we minimize the large trees that we're removing. There are some of the smaller ones that are coming out that are proximate to the actual construction area here, and then one right up here where the wall's going in. But we're certainly going to do the best we can to retain all the other peripheral trees and the trees that are not in the direct construction area. I think the most important ones are these two in the front and the one up top there, because they do provide some good canopy.
And Mr. Clark, aren't you adding additional landscaping along Lot 1?
Yes, we are. We
Right.
certainly are. Yeah, in this area where the walls are, we're creating some screening and landscaping up along that side to, you know, for our purposes and theirs.
Great.
Because their house is a little bit close, you know, to the line there. So yeah, we're gonna make sure that's well screened.
Great, thank you. Anyone
I
else?
think John had asked about that too, you know, if we could supplement maybe some landscaping up there. So that would be something we, you know, as part of our dialogue with John, you know, to make sure he's satisfied that we have enough in there.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Am I just allowed to ask questions? Sorry.
Yeah, come up to the podium.
It's okay. So I live.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address.
Sure. My name is Jeff Leuenberger. I live, or spell my last name Leuenberger. I live at 30 Dale Drive, which is just downhill, across West Lane.
Oh, okay, so you're down that way a little bit.
Correct.
Okay.
So I took two. I think they're pretty easy questions.
go ahead.
Sure.
I don't really only care about the water. That's really because I'm downhill and it's a hill, right? So it's water's coming down West Lane and down Dale Drive. I was really excited to hear that they're keeping the steep slope there in the front.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
because that storm drain,
Yeah,
which
right
is
in the
right there,
corner here.
is critical to the whole
Yeah,
street.
I've seen, yeah.
I was just curious if you could talk about the driveway. Like, is the driveway going to feed into the street at the same place roughly that the current, I couldn't tell by your diagram.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but in the background, you can kind of see the dashed lines of where so the existing
Oh, sorry.
driveway's right here, ours
Yeah.
is gonna be mostly in the same spot.
Did you expect
A little bit wider, but mostly in the same spot.
Do you expect the slope to be rough? I don't know if there are
It's
rules
gonna be a
on the
little
slope or-
steeper based on the way we're situating the house and the way the bi-level is. You know, the front door's here, and then it's a half story down, and that's sort of the garage level. So it's a little flatter than our driveway will be.
Okay.
But what I can tell you is that, we're capturing all the roof water.
And I don't know what
Which
the-
which
you
is
said a dry well, I
not, which
don't
is
know
not
what that
being
is.
done now. So a dry well is a big concrete ring with holes in the sides. You dig a hole, you put a bed of stone down, you put the concrete ring in, surround it with stone, there's a cover. You don't really see it from the surface, except Summit likes to have a cover up to the surface, so that's all you see.
Yeah.
But basically, it's sized to handle a 3-inch rainfall over that roof area.
Got it.
So for 98% plus of our storm events that we have, that tank's gonna hold that
That'll catch
whole
the
roof
water.
area
Okay.
and manage it, and then it just percolates into the ground. If there were a problem that we're seeing, that this board typically, as you may have heard earlier, retains jurisdiction for a period of a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
So normally that would give someone like you recourse that if there was like, it turned out at the end of the project, everything's done, and now we have this problem, you can come back to the board. First, you would go to the builder, you would go to the developer of the property and say, hey, well, there's a problem here, can you fix it? And if you're still having trouble, then you have recourse with the board.
Okay.
But I don't anticipate that to be the case based on my experience with this builder, Summit, the drywall functionality and so forth. If there was something problematic, the presence of that inlet is actually an
Yeah, it's huge.
advantage because it allows us to tap an overflow into that if we had to.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. No, that's great. Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Hi, I'm Jason Lees, last name Lees. My address is 14 West Lane, so I'm that guy.
So you're right here?
Welcome.
Yep,
Welcome.
yep.
So appreciate the presentation. So just a few questions, if
Sure,
okay. I'll
sure.
be quick. So as you noted, we're pretty close to the boundary line there, and I understand that in order to sort of make a level back lawn, you're gonna be sort of carving out the slope and putting in retaining walls. So I wasn't totally tracking like the absolute height. Are we talking like a 6 foot, I mean a 4 foot?
So the upper wall that's closest to your property is a 2-foot wall. And in part because we didn't want a more dramatic wall so close to the line. So it's, it's 2 feet high. And then this wall goes from 4 feet out here to 6 feet right here. So this is a 6-foot section, and then it quickly comes back down. So there's a short run in here where this other wall is, where on our side it's 6 feet. So on the lower side it's going to be 6 feet, but then this upper one is going to be 2 feet. I think they're planning to have a fence around the lot, so in terms of safety, that shouldn't be an issue really. And then of course we're going to landscape in there.
Yeah, and so in terms of like the sort of the strength of the retaining wall, I mean, it's a pretty steep slope as you've seen.
Mhm.
We are very close there. Like, how common is it, and how common is it to have sort of a drop off? I mean, if you're saying sort of as an absolute kind of level change of like 6 feet or 10 feet from basically like the bottom of my house to their lawn.
Yeah, if I'm understanding, you may be having some concerns about stability and how that's going to work there. What I can say is that the top of the wall in here is at the existing grade. That's how I said it. So what we're not doing is tearing the whole thing up and then trying to reconstitute it. We're going to take where this is, we're going to take and then cut down and then build the wall and hold what's there. And then this 2-foot wall really is actually just to give us an opportunity to sort of flatten out the areas between those walls so that there isn't as much steep in here. It's going to be more of like a little gradual to the level with landscaping to that first wall, 2 feet down, and then more level to the next wall. So for, again, more landscaping opportunity. So I don't foresee stability in terms of our property and subsequently your property being any kind of a problem.
Okay. And so then, just to clarify, like, So is there, my understanding was that there's a fair amount of, the gradient is gonna be sort of taken out to level it, is that not?
Right,
What's happening?
down here, yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
So I guess, what's kind of the structure of the wall and like your confidence level that the hill's not gonna slide?
Well, it's just engineering and experience, you know, I mean, the people build walls all the time. I think you have one in the back around your
Yeah.
patio there,
Yeah.
it's same type of wall.
Mr.
You know.
Clark, conservatively, how many retaining walls do you think you've designed in your career?
I-
1,000?
Probably not that many, but, you know. it's
800?
In the hundreds.
Okay.
Okay.
And I haven't had any problems like that, and in Summit, I mean, really, this comes down to selecting the right wall, and then the contractor who builds it, you know, it's gotta be built right, they always have to be built right, and I've been working with this developer for probably 4 years now, and we've done a lot of properties together. I don't foresee a problem, but I mean, you know, if there was ever a problem like that, you have recourse, but I don't foresee it. I really don't.
All right, thanks. And then the last one's a quick one. So, in terms of like the absolute change in the height of the building, is it net up, net down?
Well, it's definitely gonna be, at its peak, it's gonna be a little higher. So the roof here, we got about, well, it's gonna be 18 inches, about 230 something. It's gonna be about 8 feet higher, the peak of the roof, than the existing one.
Okay.
Because the bi-levels are, by their nature, not very high profile.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Next
I
witness.
have no further questions for Mr. Clark.
Okay.
And so, with that being said, I do have the architect here, but this was really more about
Right.
The site and the architectures, just from the reports confirming the materials being used, and he's reviewed the design guidelines. So if you want to hear that quickly, we can, but otherwise,
Board have any appetite to hear from the architect in this case? No? Okay. No,
Okay.
I think we're good.
then that, and I think Mr. Clark handled the landscaping aspect, and
Yes.
we're certainly willing to comply with the conditions that were elicited regarding the adding the trees, subject to the forester's review, and the AC screening as per code.
Perfect. And now we have a second opportunity for the public to speak. This is the time if you want to make any comments about this case. No? Okay, great. With that, Mr. Ball, conditions and number of votes.
Yep, so I have 3 conditions noted. Compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum, as we just discussed, that the applicants, the second one is the applicant shall coordinate with the city forester regarding the proposed landscaping and shall submit a revised landscaping plan to the city forester for review and approval. And the third, as was suggested by Mr. Clark, is that the board shall retain stormwater jurisdiction for a period of 2 years after the completion of the improvements.
C variances
Yes,
only, right?
C variances only, so 4 votes are required to approve the application.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Who would like to begin?
Sure, I'll jump in.
Thanks, Jay.
Starting with the existing conditions, I mean, a corner lot is always a tricky thing, and there's really no easy way to manipulate meeting the code in a double frontage lot. So I think the architect and the applicant and the entire team has done a really good job coming here, minimizing the number of variances they're asking for. The existing conditions essentially warrant a variance. There's no way around it. You couldn't build anything that is a modern day kind of functional use. And I think what they've designed and the fact that they've kept it within FAR, lot coverage, et cetera, is a testament to the application of them trying to be thoughtful with fitting into the neighborhood. So as a result, I think there's really no detriment, no negative impact to the neighborhood. I think the positives well outweigh this application.
Yeah, I'll agree with everything. I mean, we get lots of applications for tear downs where you're suddenly asking for 4 or 5 variances, and, you know, you really need them when you're doing a tear down. Your variances have nothing to do with the size of the house or, you know, height, bulk, you know, anything, so that's a good thing. The garage, you make a very good argument why a front-facing garage is a positive here. so I can support that. I can support the application.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, I think you summarized it correctly, right? This is all about the design, management, manipulation of the site, and I think your team, Mr. Clark, landscape architects, done a wonderful job with a tricky site, to be honest. And I do agree with Tom that the placement of the garage makes sense in this case, and I think that's a variance we can easily grant. So with that, I'm happy to support this overall application. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second. All right.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Chico?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chantrulli?
Yes.
Chairman Likett?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Good luck.
Chairman.
Thank
And I
you.
will advise my daughter, you were a very difficult board. It's not worth it for her to come back.
Just be sure to give her a discount.
She doesn't own a corner, does she own a corner lot by any chance?
Exactly.
My son will be happy.
3 corner lots already.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully she's not on a corner lot.
She's not, but it's one of the old houses.
Don't knock it down.
Finally, 2 Beekman Place. Please, come on up.
In a roundabout
Hi.
way.
Hi,
Good
how
evening,
are you?
everyone. My name is Meghna Hegde. I am one of the co-owners.
We're going to swear you in.
Swear you
Oh,
in before we
right,
get
okay.
started. If everybody can just be respectful of the applicant.
All right, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
My name is Meghna Hegde, last name spelled as Hegde.
Thank you.
Great.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Yeah, as I was saying, good evening. I'm one of the co-owners of 2 Beekman Road, the other one being my husband, who's at home right now with our 2 kids. And this is kind of why we're here. As a family of 2 young children, we want to create a functional and comfortable long-term home in Summit. And we are planning an addition to our home, a room of 281 square foot. And that requires us to present a couple of variances for that reason. So every variance that I bring before you stems from the condition that ours is a triangular corner lot that is over 1,200 square feet undersized for the zone that we are in. And we cannot change the size or the shape of this lot. So we are requesting 4 variances. We're requesting the FAR relief from 25 to 27.1% for a 281 square foot bedroom addition above the garage. We are also requesting the lot coverage relief from 35 to 36.8% and relief for 2 existing non-conforming side yard setbacks that we are not worsening. The remaining improvements are comparatively minor. We are requesting a large rear landing for some safe backyard access and a modest patio expansion, as well as a small driveway reconfiguration just to straighten it out for safety purposes. I am joined here tonight by Alexander Rodriguez of AR Architect LLC, who will provide expert testimony on the design and technical aspects of the application. He has designed the addition to sit below the main roof line, align with the existing windows, and remain compatible with the character of the neighborhood. So we're here to just ask for your, I respectfully ask for your approval for the project.
Great job, but are you secretly a zoning attorney? No.
Not really.
Do we have any questions, board experts, for the applicant? Or just want to wait for their expert witness? Board, any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. Public? Nope? Okay, great.
Right out the room.
All right, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Alexander Rodriguez from AR Architects, RODRIGUEZ.
Thank you. And I believe you've appeared before us relatively recently.
I have it last year, May of last year, I was here before this.
Any changes to your credentials since that last appearance?
No, my license is still valid.
Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept him back
We
once again?
would. Thank you, Andy. Welcome back.
Thank you. Just she did a great job just summarizing the variances and everything that we need. I just kind of quickly just want to just run through the drawings. I'm sure you've seen them already. Just quickly show you what we're looking to do as far as the floor plans are concerned. So on page 3, just want to indicate that we are, currently there's an existing garage that's about 11 feet by about 19. So we felt that was an undersized garage. We are.
Mr. Rodriguez, could you speak into one of the microphones?
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Does this one work? Hello? Yep. Currently, the existing garage is about 11 by 19. It's a little undersized. So we are looking to expand that garage, make it a little bit more livable. Well, not livable, but obviously where we can actually get a car in there. So we're actually still keeping the width of the garage, and we're expanding it by about 6 feet towards the front. We are also, one of the things that they mentioned is we are expanding a rear landing because we wanted to add a slider going out towards the back of the house here. And then as far as the second floor is concerned, we are building a second floor over that new garage that we're proposing. So the garage is, it's going to be an existing garage, but we are demoing the walls. So I just wanted to be clear that we're demoing the walls in order to make the structure and the walls a little bit taller to conform to have the second floor aligned. So we're making those taller. We're also coming out towards the front because we are looking to add a primary suite above that garage. We're looking to enhance the overall second floor. We're looking to make the closets more conforming. There's currently some smaller closets are there, so we're looking to add some of those closets there. We're also looking to reconfigure some of the bathrooms towards the back. We're adding a bedroom with a primary closet over the front. The second floor does align over the existing one-car garage. As you can see in the front elevation, we are going to maintain the same materials as far as the stone's going to be maintained, and then we're also going to continue the cedar siding on the new addition along the front. We're also maintaining the double hung window to be similar to maintain the front and keeping the character along the front of the house. Along the back half of the house, we are adding a window towards the rear. And then as far as the side yard setback is concerned towards the one neighbor, we didn't want to maintain a blank facade, so we did add some 2 windows along the garage lower area, and we just added 1 window to maintain the peak. Just so we added 3 windows along that one facade that would be closest to the neighbor. In regards to, my client already mentioned it. I don't know if you want me to go over the variances that are required again, but those are already mentioned. I think we're looking for 4 variances. We're looking for the floor area ratio variance. So currently, we're at 23.9%. We're looking to increase that to 27.1% as far as the floor area ratio. The side yard setback, currently we are in an R10 zone. We're required to have 12 feet. The existing side yard setbacks are 7 feet and 3 feet. Where the garage are, that's the 7-foot dimension. So we're keeping that 7-foot side yard setback, but we are continuing to create a second story above that. And then there is an existing 3 feet over on the right side of the property line, which we're not touching that side. As far as the side, we're also looking for a combined side yard setback, whereas 35 is required. Currently, we're at 12.2%, and we're just maintaining the existing side yard setbacks combined at 12.2%. We're also, again, slight increases in lot coverage, where we're increasing the patio. Lot coverage is going from 33.7% to 36.8%. So again, we need the side yard setback, combined side yard setback, lot coverage, floor area ratio, and I think they also called out for the side yard setback for the patio, which again, we're just increasing, and we're just looking to make that patio a little bit more usable as we come out that rear door.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Appreciate it. Board experts, what questions do you have for this witness?
Thank you. So it looks to me like, based on the information that you have on your cover sheet, the zoning table shows that you're increasing the impervious coverage by 272 square feet. Does that sound right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So because you're less than 300 square feet, then you're not required to do any stormwater mitigation. But I just want to make sure that you and your client are aware that if it goes over 300 square feet of additional impervious coverage, that has to be mitigated for.
Yes, we are aware of that. Yes, thank you.
I think that's really all, yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you, Marie. Mr. Novak.
Thank you very much. Just a few questions. You might have already covered this, so I apologize. The materials of the addition, will they match the existing facade of the building?
Yes, that's what we're looking to do, keeping the stone in the front and then keeping the cedar shingles.
Okay. And just to confirm, there's no increase in the number of bedrooms?
No, the bedrooms stay the same.
Okay.
Well, actually, is that true? The number of bedrooms? Okay.
Okay, so the number of
we are
bedrooms do
increasing-
increase.
Yes.
And the driveway is being reconfigured and the garage is being increased, correct?
Correct.
Do you have an estimate of how many vehicles the driveway and the garage can potentially hold?
Right, and then how many approximate vehicles would fit in the driveway?
I think the applicant should get closer to the microphone.
So the garage can hold one vehicle so far, and I think even after renovation, that's what it will have. And the driveway can probably fit two. We can currently fit our SUVs side by side, as well as one in front and one behind.
Okay. So about 3 vehicles on site?
Yes.
Okay, the reason I ask is because a 4-bedroom house would require parking for 2.5 vehicles, so the applicant still has ample room on site to accommodate cars with this addition.
Okay, great. Thank you. Board, what questions do you have for this witness?
Are you replacing your air conditioning unit as part of the renovation?
We do not. We replaced them about a few months ago, actually. And from what we checked, we didn't require additional air conditioning or HVAC for any new additions of this size.
If you replaced it already, I was just wondering if that was in that setback too close to the property line, the existing AC unit, if we needed to grant the variance for it. Just don't want you to have to come back.
Yeah, we are not replacing it.
Yeah, they already got it, and it was
Then I'm okay.
approved, it must be okay.
Okay. How would you describe the shape of this lot?
Very
Anticipated my
irregular,
question.
absolutely. So, yes, it is a very irregular shaped lot where the two property lines are angled towards the back of the property line, and that's what creates our hardship in regards to the side yard setbacks.
And what about the size of the lot?
The size of the lot is undersized, so we are required, I believe, to have 10,000 square feet, and we're at 8793, so we are undersized for this particular lot.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
I just got a real quick one.
Yeah, Don, go ahead.
Did you speak to your neighbors about your project?
Actually, interesting you say that. They were just here. There were
Oh.
a couple that were sitting there, and they actually, we stepped outside and they had a few questions for us, and we answered them, and they were very comfortable. And
Good.
Yep.
So I was just concerned about and maybe this is not the right term, but the massing of the second floor. If you're looking at the house to the left, where now it's 1 story, now it'll be 2, almost 2.5.
Right.
But if, nobody's here, nobody's here.
Okay.
If I may.
Please.
They were actually here, and I will speak to them again, just so that we can accommodate whatever requests they have our intention is not to create an issue for them in any way whatsoever.
That is great to hear. Thank you. All right. Any questions from the audience? Seeing none. Any comments from the audience? Seeing none. All right, great. With that, Mr. Ball, what do we have for conditions and number of votes?
All right, the only condition I have noted is our usual one, which is compliance with the conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Here, we do have an FAR variance, so 5 votes are required to approve the application.
Thank you, Andy. So who wants to begin our executive session?
I will.
Thank you, Allison.
All right. That's my train of thought. I think, obviously, the very odd-shaped lot, like I said, upside-down triangle, does cause hardship, and I think this is a very reasonable ask. Everything, like, to be able to fit your car in your garage, and, to have, an extra, a nice master bedroom. So I'm fully supportive of this.
Thank you, Allison. Don?
Yeah, I can support this application. It's just, I was a little concerned about, again, the massing of what would be the left side, but, looking at the drawings, you're in a hard spot. It's a irregular shaped lot, undersized for the zone. You're stuck between a rock and a hard spot. You're improving the look of the neighborhood. You're improving your lifestyle, so I can definitely support this application.
Well said. Thank you, Don. All right, anyone else? No? With that, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Jay. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Ms. Sands, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Chairman Liggett?
Yes. Congratulations. Good luck. Thank you so much. All right. Do you want to do the resolutions first, or?
Yeah, resolutions
All right,
first.
great. All right, Jessica. Resolutions.
Okay. So first up, we have the resolution of denial for 695 Springfield Avenue, zoning board application number ZB-24-2237. The eligible voting members are Chairman Liggett and Mr. Nelson.
Wow. That's interesting.
Could we get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second? I guess.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Chairman Liggett?
Yes.
Thank you. And the next 3 resolutions for memorialization are resolutions of approval. First up, we have 52 Huntley Road, zoning board application number ZB-25-2317. The eligible voting members are Chairman Liggett, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Malay, and Mr. Nelson. Could we get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Chairman Liggett?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Up next is 16 Shady Side Avenue, zoning board application number ZB-25-2321. The eligible voting members are Chairman Liggett, Mr. Yuko, Mr. Nelson, Ms. Chifo, and Mr. Feskins. Could we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Chairman Liggett?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
And then lastly, we have 31 Mealy Place, zoning board application number ZB-26-2323. The eligible voting members are Chairman Liggett, Mr. Yuko, Ms. Chifo, and Mr. Feskins. Could we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Chairman Liggett?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Thank you. And then we have minutes for memorialization from March 16, 2026. The eligible voting members are Mr. Yuko, Mr. Nelson, Ms. Chifo, Mr. Chanchuli, and Chairman Liggett. Could we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
All right.
So we do have a closed session noted on the agenda. I'll read the resolution in full before we go in. I will also just note for the record that that concludes the formal business and that no further business will be conducted by the board after the conclusion of the closed session. So, for the resolution, whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from meetings of public bodies in certain circumstances set forth by statute, and whereas the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the City of Summit is of the opinion that such circumstances currently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the City of Summit as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from the discussion of any action upon the hereinafter specified matters. 2, the nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. We have attorney-client privilege, public comments. 3, it's anticipated at this time the above stated subject matter will be made public in approximately 30 days or at such time as any litigation discussed is resolved. Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Chairman Licketts?
Yes. You guys are good? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all your help tonight.
Thank you very much for the nice work we did tonight.